Yo, what is up? I am excited. Garrett Sussman of iPullRank here for Rankable Live, our Rankable podcast. I got to say, DC's in the house. Jump, jump, rejoice. We got DC Glenn. I'm so excited to dive into this. Man knows SEO inside and out. We're going to find out how the heck he got into marketing and SEO. But for those of you who don't know, DC, the brain supreme, we're talking DC Glenn, who is one half of the multi-platinum 90s hip hop group Tag Team, which made, that pop classic. Whoop, there it is. For those of you who aren't as old as me and grew up on this, you might have seen him more recently on the Geico commercial Scoop. There it is, killing it with SAG. He's also an actor. He's a comedian. He's a voice artist with the People Store Agency in Atlanta. I think I got it all, DC. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, man, I'm doing very, very well today.
Oh man, where do we even begin? So I remember you from the 90s. You were one of the first cassettes that I bought with Whoop There It Is back in the day. How do you end up in marketing? How do you end up in SEO?
Actually, our engineer was really hype on the internet. We were like one of the first groups to have a website back then, all the way back in like 94.
Really?
And it was bare bones and it was caveman, and I didn't realize what it was. And that was like the first version of what's the editor in Microsoft? I forgot what it was so long ago.
It's gonna get. But what's it like Space Jam? Did you have like GIFs going on with like sparkly images and whatnot? You remember?
No, I mean it was actually kind of clean.
Cool.
Hold on. I can't go on doing what this is. Microsoft
Time out.
No, you ain't gotta pause it. Keep talking.
No, we're rolling.
Okay, yeah, Microsoft.
That's crazy. 90s. I remember I had my computer in my kitchen. I must have been in middle school to date myself, in the mid 90s when this came out, high school.
Microsoft. I'll remember it. But anyway, That was the internet they used back then, and it was crude, and I just didn't realize what it was. And if I had been thinking, you know what I mean? It's always those things in life that you wish you had jumped in on at the beginning, but it's never too late, So, me getting into digital marketing was really easy because I was always into marketing because I DJ'd in the clubs. So I'm always making flyers. I'm always making. I was on the first version of Photoshop. I'm always passing out flyers. I'm always doing the radio spots because I can cut it up and make it tight. So, in essence, I have always been marketing. I've been marketing all my whole life, and I don't mind hustling and getting out there and letting people know what I'm doing. So, in a roundabout way, I've been doing this since I was a kid.
It makes sense with hip hop, right? Because it's like, you're always going to have your MCs. You're all about hyping it up. And so just doing that at like scale and trying to build that out. So you've gotten into marketing, you've gotten into SEO. I'm impressed as hell because you go to the Tag Team website and you guys actually rank for Tag Team, which has like 70,000 visits per month.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about your involvement in the current website. What are you currently doing when it comes to SEO, and what are you into?
I do all of it.
Yeah, that's all you. So Bill, walk me through building out that site. How'd you start? How'd you build it up? Yeah.
Okay, so I could just go. Okay, so way back in the day, my life is full of tragic events that turn into opportunities because I vow that they'll never happen again, right? Yeah. So a Tag Team, we got in a lawsuit. I said, okay, I'm gonna become a paralegal. And when everything was going bad, I was like, no one will ever take money from me again, or I'll be tight on my finances from here on out. So I became a licensed commodities broker. I became a paralegal, basically, right? Because I had to learn the language to be able to understand what was going on with my case, because I knew I would have my day in court. And then sometime around 2002, I started getting into the big self-help thing. And I can't remember what book it was, but it stuck with me. Run your life like a corporation. And that's what I started doing. And when you do that and you're working in the clubs and you're doing all the shows, you become self-sufficient in a lot of things. And, one of the first things I did was there was a book called I can't remember what it was called, but the guy owned a pie shop. He wanted to own a pie shop, so he went to work at a pie shop for 6 months. He bought a pie shop, then he franchised the pie shop, then he sold it for $20 million. He called his process getting in the corridor. If you're at a job, learn how to do everything in that job. And that's what I did. So I'm not just your DJ, I'm your light guy, I'm your sound guy. I do your flyers, I do your SEO, I do your video, I do your television commercials, I make your deals for all these things. I do 10 things. So if you get rid of me, you got to find 10 people to do them.
You're invaluable.
Everyone should do that with any job they hate, don't like, or feel like they're stuck in, because you're not doing all this extra stuff for the company. Everybody's like, I ain't about to do all that extra work and they ain't paying me. I'm like, you're missing the opportunities to learn. And those opportunities you learn, like if somebody shows up sick and the boss like, I need somebody who can do, I got it. Now you become invaluable. And even if they do let you go, you transition yourself to the next bigger thing easier because you've gained mastery in things that you never thought you would have done because you stayed proactive. You played offense. You didn't give up. You didn't let your emotions get the best of you, right? So it's crazy how my SEO career started because it was brutal and it was painful for me to learn it. But 2011, I'm at the club DJing. I get a call. DC, there's this girl at the front. She won't get off the phone. She said she got to talk to you. I'm like, which one of these women I done? And it was a reporter from the New York Times.
Oh, cool.
And she was like, I got to talk to you. I was like, call me in the morning. She called me in the morning. She said, have you seen the Gawker article? I was like, no. She's like, the whole world thinks Barack Obama is in your music video. And I was like, no way. And we did press that whole week. And we just, it was fun. We did ABC, NBC, Good Morning America. We did all the shows. And after 2 weeks, I had nothing to show for it. It pissed me off. And I'm like, why? And it's because I didn't have a web presence. That lady could not find me. She went over the hills and through the woods to grandma's house trying to find me, and she found me, right? But it should not have been that hard to find me. So I said, that'll never happen again. And I started my SEO career, started learning how to build websites for the club. And it was just brutal because I'm not the greatest at building the website, but then SEO was just so confusing to me. It's confusing to everybody. It's still confusing to people. So what I do all the time, just to help me understand things, is I break things down into analogies.
Okay.
Analogies, metaphors, whatever. Just like we do when we write lyrics, right? See, one thing always serves another. And because I do that so well, I just kind of started figuring out, okay, so SEO basically is being seen, right? But how can you get seen? And that's the question. It is all evolved from 2011, because 2011, you type in tag team, it was all wrestling.
Right.
It was all tag team Pokemon. It was all tag team Laverne and Shirley, the real estate duo. It was everything tag team except tag team. No knowledge panel, no nothing. 2021, you type in tag team, it is all tag team. And that was an incredible journey, and it still is an incredible journey. And I think the first thing that I had to do is I had to disambiguate tag team from everybody else. Right? But how do you do that? People, do you write letters to Google saying, hey, get this out of my knowledge panel? Right? That don't work, right? See, like, people think that it's that visceral, but people don't understand that Google is a robot. It has no emotions. It has no feelings. You're not trying to get Google to like you. It has no emotions. So when people ask me about SEO, I said, if you were looking for you, this is what I asked them. If you're looking for you, what do you type into Google? And they can't tell me. I said, there's your problem. Because all SEO is answering a series of questions. Really, like in the last 4 or 5 years, because everything is about suggestions and questions, right? It's not about keywords anymore. Everybody used to be like, I want this keyword. I want these many. It's not about that. It is, but that's just the keyword you want to rank for, right? The real meat comes with the symphony of all these little things that Google tells you, because Google has always given you the recipe. When they change the algorithm, they tell you a year before they do it. They give you the recipe to feed the bot. So what are you going to be? A short order cook or 5-star Michelin chef, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with me, it was difficult at the beginning because it just was difficult. I mean, I signed up for every group. I did all the, the research, all the biggest gurus and everything. And it just never really panned out for me. But then I think around 2000, when I stopped DJing in 2015, that's when I just went full bore and I built a t-shirt site. Now, the only error, I built a t-shirt site, 700 products, and instantly I was ranking for like 300 keywords. And all my mentors were like, dude, that's bananas. Nobody does it. Because I knew that keyword research was the holy grail back then, right? So I was masterful at it because I could go in, I could make spreadsheets, I could break it all down, I could bring it back up. There's certain little things you look at. People are looking at just the volume, but you can't look at the volume. You got to look at who's buying ads on that. If people buying ads on it, that means it's just going to be tons of traffic. Everybody's trying to get it. But if they're not buying ads for it, it's a decent amount of volume. That's what you want to go for. But then, there's a way you got to structure all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think you could just start throwing keywords at Google, and Google was like, no, because you're going to confuse me, right? and that's what happens. So Google, you're throwing all these keywords at Google, and you're just getting confused. Google's getting confused, and you're still in space, and then you get frustrated. And there's so many things that you have to learn, and it takes time. But once you have them, you understand silo structure, and you understand, that it's not about the keyword. It's about, can you answer the question?
Right. It's clear, like you really fundamentally understood that SEO is speaking to Google where it's search intent, your users, the people who are looking for you, and then site structure and making it as clean and obvious and organized as possible. And so that's what you took and ran with it?
Not really. I was all over the place. I mean, okay, so everything, it's a moving target.
Right.
What works today don't work tomorrow, right? So I knew after I built that site, it was just too big for one person to do that site with that many products. Plus it just wouldn't have been, I messed up. I should have done one t-shirt and just rolled with that and then got good at that. Then did another t-shirt and got good at that. And did another t-shirt and got good at that. And just kept going like that. So then I said, I'm concentrating on tag team because I want to start going on the road again. I want to get us shows.
Cool.
And I had to figure out how to get all the wrestling, how to disambiguate everything from what I was doing. And I figured it out. And it starts with the knowledge panel. But what feeds the knowledge panel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something feeds the knowledge panel. What are the criteria? Well, what entity does Google trust the most? In your opinion?
Well, just in terms of like the structured data that you're providing, right? The schema?
Not even the schema. What entity
Links?
Google trusts the most?
You tell me.
Wikipedia.
Oh, of course. Yeah. That is the authority on information.
Wikipedia. So if my Wikipedia page, because I'm going all over the internet looking up everything tag team because I got to figure this out, and everything is saying tag team is a Miami-based group that was only active from 1993 to 1995, and then like what?
Yep.
I had to learn how to write a Wikipedia page.
Wikipedia is a pain in the ass.
No, it's not. It's the whole
friend. Okay, tell me. Educate me.
It's not that difficult, right? It is difficult, but I'm the guinea pig, right? Mm-hmm. I'm the guinea pig. And what I did is I got the Wikipedia page rewritten. I wrote it myself and then gave it to somebody who knows Wikipedia pages, and they edited it.
Gotcha.
And when I dropped that Wikipedia page, things changed because everything on the internet aggregates from a Wikipedia page. From those first, I think is 198 characters. And when you aggregate from it on all the music sites, that's what's coming from the Wikipedia page. If you want to impose your will and you want people to find you, you better have those first 196 characters explicit on the Wikipedia page. After that, everything's just everything. It's just fluff. They're going to take the whole article and put it on their page, or put it on their blog, or they're going to regurgitate it. But Wikipedia is like a press release.
The press release, to your point.
Is the press release of all press releases, because every entity on the internet will aggregate from it. So therefore, things will start dropping into the knowledge panel, because if you did the Wikipedia page right, see, everybody's thinking, I got to do this for Google. But it's about, if you do the recipe right, and I'm a 5-star Michelin chef, and I'm feeding the bot the right information, then the bot, when it's out there crawling, brings the information that's relevant to beat me back to me and puts it in my knowledge panel.
Yep.
Because every record I put out, everything that I have has gone through the Library of Congress. All these things have information around, because at the beginning of the internet, everything was in the real world. And then the real world has to transfer to the digital world, right? It's like the transition from horses to cars. So now all this stuff is in, everything that was in the real world is now digital. Now it has to be organized. See, it was digitized at first. So everybody's thinking, okay, if I'm on the internet and I do this, I can do that. Nah, now it has to be archived, right? So Google is spending all of its time archiving everything in the universe, because that's how Google makes its money. It is a search engine. People are looking for things. If you're looking for something, and every day everybody gets up and types stuff into Google and they can't find it. Well, if you can't find it, then something's not right. But SEO is the ability to be found by the people you want to find you. See, everybody is like me. That's why social media is just so, people who don't know it or fear it, they just say, I hate it. Just like you just say, man, Wikipedia pages are a pain in the ass, because you don't understand, I'm not going to say you don't understand or don't know it, but there's a visceral reaction when you did that.
Right.
And I can tell you, Wikipedia is the way.
I believe it. There are gatekeepers to it, right? So you have to invest.
You gotta, okay, so all you gotta do is learn.
Yeah.
I am a certified Wikipedia Wikidata expert, and I took one class.
Where did you get started? Where would you point people if they want to get into it?
I took a class about Wikipedia, and this is a class about Wikidata.
Right.
And it changed my life, because Wikidata is basically inputting all the references that you use to write Wikipedia pages. It's called Wiki EDU, right? A Wiki education. And I took a class, and about 5 years ago, it was just Wikipedia, but now you got Wiki Commons, which is all the media, right? Because media is big now, but it has to be Creative Commons. Everybody has to be able to use it. Then you have Wikidata. Wikidata is basically a reference that you use in Wikipedia. So this is how I explain it all. This is my invention, because not my invention, but this is how I'm about to roll, because the Wikipedia and Wiki side fears SEO, and the SEO side doesn't like the Wiki side. So they both outsource each, but they're not being served properly, right? Because only you know how to customize you, right? Sure. So this is how I explain it. Wikidata is the fertile soil, and your C's for Wikidata are: who are you? Are you a man? Where did you go to school? When were you born? Who are your parents? What job were you have? What genre of music are you? What are you? What is your job occupation? What is this? Who are you affiliated with? Who are you associated with? Are you associated with a company? Are you associated with a business? Do you have a Library of Congress authority number? Do you have this? Do you have that? These are things that people don't even know they've accrued throughout their life. And when you find them, that is data.
Absolutely.
And what does Google love? Data.
Well, so you are in essence, you're a celebrity, right? Like you had so much success with Tag Team. What would you say to someone who doesn't have that starting point? Like with Wikipedia, do you feel like it's accessible to people who haven't established themselves?
You're starting from a premise that make you want to quit already.
That's fair.
Like I don't look at it like that. I'm looking at it like what I gotta do. And see, I owe that to my parents because they worked me like I was like a dog when I was young, right? So it's like I understand how to hustle because I have never not known work. So therefore, as a grown man, I do not fear work. I want it to be hard because I know everybody's not going to do it. So you got the soil, which is the wiki data. You got your little bitty things that you drop, your seeds you drop in the soil. Mm-hmm. Those seeds are the things that you have done in your life. It could be the most mundane thing, but what it is data. You're archiving your existence. And when you archive your existence and Google goes and crawls that initial layer of wiki data, now when it goes out and crawls everything else, it remembers because it is a robot, and now it brings everything back to you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they got to go out and get something when all you got to do is set it up properly and it comes back. It's almost like, like the Marvel movie where the Earth is being sucked into a black hole and everything is being sucked into a black hole. Well, that's how it works in a positive way because Google is out there sucking everything that has to do with you because of the data back to you. And now it knows how to put you in the places that you need to be, which is your knowledge panel. Now you can control what goes in your knowledge panel through different numbers, but then you got to go do the research, which site has the most authority. Right. And then that's what you put in your wiki data. So when Google crawls, oh, this is more important than that thing I used to have in there. Now you can fashion your own wiki data page the way the data dictates, and you can't cheat. That's the beauty of it.
Right.
You can't cheat. You can't manipulate because we all checking each other. And I had to learn the hard way. I got several things taken down, several things. And I was like, okay, what am I doing wrong? And I just kept going. I know because I don't quit. Right. I will not quit. And I figured it out. And now if you type in Wikidata, DC Glenn, or Tag Team, you will see that I have more data on my wikis than any rapper or rap group or rock group, period.
That's awesome.
You see what I'm saying?
You put in the time, yeah.
Starts with the data. So now that's the soil. The seeds are your references. The harvest is your Wikipedia page, because now you can write and you've got all the references. So you've got that little clip in a magazine article that you did. You've got that little audio from a podcast that you did. You've got all these things. That's why I do 3 or 4 podcasts a day, because now affiliated with this podcast, affiliated with that podcast, Google crawls, and now I'm a podcast expert, or it lets people know that I do podcasts. Now people will call me because they want
good
podcast.
It's so good, man. I mean, it makes so much sense.
Everything that you do, right? Mm-hmm. Everything. Like, it goes in the wiki. I go to Wikidata first. Yeah. So the harvest is the Wikipedia page. Now, all you have to do, you got 2 layers. You got 2-layer cake. The third layer is the mirrorization, if that is a word, of your website to layer 1, which is Wikidata. Layer 2, which is Wikipedia. Now layer 3, you've mirrored your website to match the data. Now you've got 3 tiers of data that coalesce together. When Google crawls that, it gets a hard on.
Yeah, so you
Because
disambiguate. That's why you show
exactly
up.
what they want you to do.
Yep.
You are helping Google do its job, right? Then the 4th layer, schema.
Yeah.
That's where you get creative, right? Because with schema, you can create the carousel that goes across. You can create the latest from. If you just have one page that's dedicated to news, because it's going to pull from that news. And if it's relevant, Google will place you because you're doing it right the whole way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now your press releases stick. They don't evaporate, right? Because you know how to write press releases because you can mirror them with the website. You can mirror them with the Wikidata, the Wikipedia, the website because it's a blog on your website, and the schema. You got 4 layers of consistent data that Google crawls, and now it goes out and it pulls everything back to you. And now anytime it sees anything that has to deal with your data, it knows exactly where to put you. And now you flourish. And now people can find you. Social media doesn't even matter, right? People want to be liked. And it's like, why, I got to have 100,000 followers. Why? Because you're needy and you think that if people like you, they're going to want you, when it's like, you don't need 100,000 to make money. All you need is 10. All you need to do is answer the question or be the service for 10 people, and they will ride with you forever because you have solved their problem.
I love it. Let me ask you, DC. So you've got this under control. You've got your knowledge graph on lockdown. You understand
Not
how
really.
it works.
I mean, it's always a work in progress. Let's put it that way. Like, there's stuff
Okay.
I got to do. A lot of this is theory, and it's not really
Okay.
theory. I'm doing it, but it's so much that I have to teach people how to do this before I can even find anybody to help me do it, because this is custom to me. My situation is different. Right. But go ahead and ask your question, and I'll jump back.
No, I was just going to ask what you see the future of the knowledge graph being. How are you going to continue? How do you continue to adapt? Like, if there are, in the last few years, we've seen a significant amount of like new kind of features or attributes being added to the knowledge graph. I just want to pick your brain. What direction do you predict it goes? Yeah.
All that is in combination with something else.
Sure.
So whatever little thing that they put in, they tell you. They say, okay, we're gonna have an accordion. Think about it. When you go type in an actor, right, or you go type in a movie, that certain genre of movie, you got an accordion going all across the top. You could do that with yourself. Top 10 black actors in Atlanta. Make your own accordion, scheme it. Now you got an accordion when they pull up DC Glenn because you're an actor.
That's awesome.
Because you have to have it mirrored, right? Now, if you just do that with just schema and it's not on the web page, then that's different. But that's how you build silos. You build silos, and then your keywords, you build pages off those keywords. And when you build those pages off the keywords, then you can really do damage, because you can be strategic. Top 10 list of this, top 10 list of that, top 5. It could be the top 3 list, and it'll put you somewhere if you scheme it up. So think about the things you have that you could do with schema, right? You've got suggestions. Suggestions are just answering questions. So you can put your you can answer the questions. What are the top 5 questions that people are answered that pertain to you?
Right.
Like with me, who's in the new Geico commercial? That's the number 1 question on Geico commercials page, in the middle. All I gotta do is answer it. Who's in the Geico commercial? Question mark. DC the Brain Supreme, Steve Rowland of Tag Team, who are the 90s hip-hop duo Tag Team, and their commercial, Scoop, there it is Geico's greatest. 2-3 sentences, scheme it up. Now, I get that question on the Scoop, there it is, or Geico commercial keyword, which gets 75,000 searches a month. And if I do it right, it'll jump up to the first page on Geico. and that's 2.74 searches a month.
I love it. You simplify. I mean, I get it with the metaphors, like how you can make it so clear the way you think about it. I mean, obviously, you've got these educator genes in your bones. We're getting to the end, but obviously, I could talk to you forever. And one thing I do want to say is, one of our viewers mentioned the Microsoft editor back in the day, Microsoft Front Page.
Yeah, front page. The front page. Yeah, front page, and then Adobe is. I was thinking Adobe. That's why I was confused. Adobe's editor was that's what I was thinking of. Adobe's editor. Yeah, front page. And then the editor for Adobe is I want to say Excelsior. That's why I got in my head. I can't remember.
Shout out to John Merch for that one. But dude, DC, it's really cool. Like it's a pleasure talking to you about this, because obviously you've done the work and you really have understood the value of Wikipedia, Wikidata, controlling your schema, controlling your SERPs. If someone wants to get in touch with you, either in an entertainment capacity, but in like an SEO marketing capacity, how do you want to be found? What's the best way to reach out?
You type in anything, tag team, DC Glenn, Steve Rowland, whatever, you're gonna find me. That's SEO. The ability to be found. If I get in a car accident and break my leg, I'm like, call 911. I need an ambulance. Wait a minute, there's an ambulance right there. Never mind. That's SEO. The ability to definitely be in front of people that need you. I can put myself in front of casting directors. I can put myself in front of voiceover artists. I can put myself in front of anybody I need to put myself in front of if I just go ahead and build it out. Then here's the thing. This is the beauty of it. I had, every time I come to the record company in LA, I would get big stacks of papers, right? Contracts, memorandums, itineraries, other articles from everywhere. And I just would put it in a box and send it to my mother. And that was the greatest thing I could have ever done for my life, because I've digitized those thousands and thousands of pieces of paper. Now they are all references and they tell the timeline of Tag Team. And now each one is a reference. So the story I can tell with I've got 5 outsourcers just doing data entry, cataloging each page, giving it a title, uploading it to sources that Google trusts, which is Flickr, Google Drive. And now I can use any of those, because what is this about? Bringing things from the real world, the physical world, to the digital world. So if Wikipedia educator can say, hey, we don't know if that exists, I'm like, yeah, you do. Call the newspaper. They'll pull it up for you. Right. This is what happened. I got 5 different, and I never put just one reference in. I'll put 3 or 4 references in just to make sure. Right. That's how you double up. You don't do 5 different things with a reference. You do one thing with 5 different references. Now that expands the tentacles. Now you're getting more.
You're legendary, man. It's crazy, especially when you say things like, like point out that you are, the rapper with the most wiki data out there. Like, you are doing the work. You are documenting yourself in a way that I feel like
Tag team
nobody's.
Think about it, man. Here's the thing. The reason we love Shakespeare, Bach, Beethoven, the reason we even know about them fools is because somebody archived their shit. Hey, Shakespeare's boy Roger probably was better than him, but all his scrolls burnt down in a house fire. He was an alcoholic, so nobody even knows who he is. Right? You know the story. Somebody throws a bunch of pictures out of a storage unit because they passed on, and then somebody just walks by and like, wait a minute, what kind of that picture looks good? They take all the pictures out the trash. Now they got an art gallery with all these pictures. Now that photographer is remembered for forever. I'm building a tag team museum, a DC the Brain Museum. There it is, will be remembered till the end of time when I get done. That's all I
can big. That is thinking big. And that's true. I get it. I can see, 2600, you're going to have it. You're going to be immortalized.
Yeah, and the whole point is thinking differently. So you can't look at what I'm going to get out of it. You gotta switch your whole mind around. See, I'm not emotionally attached to anything.
Yeah.
So therefore, my mind is truly open. I can sequester my ego and my pride because I know it's going to take work. The same thing with acting. It was brutal. But I know that if I don't get an audition, it's okay. And I'm not even thinking like that. I'm thinking, well, if it's going to take, I hear people say it took me 100 auditions. Well, if it's going to take me 1,000 auditions, can I get 50 auditions a day? Because the quicker I get to 1,000, let's roll. It's about playing offense, not being emotional, and just going, right? You don't plant a seed. See, here's the problem. Everybody thinks everything is a quid pro quo. So you don't plant a seed and sit down Indian style and say, oh, okay, seed, grow. Please grow. Why isn't the seed growing? The seed ain't growing, man. Man, I quit. Now we know a lot of people who took a real estate course, thought they was gonna be rich, and you ain't heard from them.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Right. And that's because they thought they were emotionally tied to it. But it don't work like that. You plant that seed and you keep it moving. You keep it moving and you just keep going. You keep going. And I have planted so many seeds, especially recently and all throughout my life, that I stand before you in a forest of opportunity unimaginable. I planted a seed 28 years ago called Whoop, there it is, and now it is a sequoia. It ain't going nowhere.
That's beautiful. That is it, folks. I want to stop right there because it's like you are just gem after gem after gem, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time. Like I really.
If you want me back, I'll come back. Hey,
Dude,
nothing more I love than running my mouth. Hey, I just want to thank you for letting me come on here and run my mouth because I love SEO, and I feel that I have just created things and systems that people just. I have all the stuff. I don't have to get links. I've got 1 million links already, right? So that's where I'm a little different, but you got tons of links too, but you just have to put the data in and connect all the links. Then they come back to serve you because you never know how many links you got on authority sites. And now you got that link and now your site becomes more powerful.
Dude, you're a man who exceeds expectations. Thank you so much again for being my guest. This has been awesome. This is DC Glenn. Find tag team, just type in tag team and find his beautiful knowledge graph that he's built and continues to build every single day. My name is Garrett Sussman, demand generation manager at iPullRank. This has been the Rankable Podcast. We are signing off. Thank you again, sir.
Sprinkles.